5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day, goodbye, hello. Welcome along to LTID TV. Wherever you are in the world, one of those will apply to you. Thank you for joining us live on YouTube, if that is how you are watching, and on your favourite podcast platform, if that is how you are listening. Welcome along. This week I've been going back in time. I've been seeing a few old TV shows, and don't know whether anybody out there remembers On the Buses or not, but special today, we've got Olive sat there below me. Welcome along, Olive. And we've got Blakey in the corner. Hi, guys.
I'm bloody going to get you, Butler.
Oh, dear. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. Well, I was until I heard that. And I was going to say I'm glad to be back, but now I'm not going to say that.
Which one are you, Chris?
I'm Reg Varney, the cheeky chappy.
Of course you are.
Of course I am.
Of course you are.
Well, they're more like the nose of the other guy, and I can't remember his name. I do a bit of a thing. But no,
Bob,
did you know, Reg, and this is an interesting fact, and because I know Kate is related, this will be very interesting to her. Reg Varney, he was the first person ever in the UK to use a cash machine.
You are just a font of knowledge, Chris, aren't you? I mean, my life is richer for knowing that. I don't know about you, Craig.
I did know that, and that's why I gave Chris his moment. And
well, you could have put your hand up.
No, that's fine, because I know you were educating the younger members of the panel.
Yes.
And when she said you were a font of all knowledge, I think the word font was very well chosen. Could have been a lot of other things.
It sounded different to me. That's why I ignored it, But I do like to think of this program as educational as well as entertaining, Well,
it's probably more educational than entertaining, to be fair.
Every day is a school day.
Exactly. Let's just say a few hellos. Prasant is in. Hello, mate. How are you? Hi, John. How are you doing? Wayne is in. Rudkin in. There was actually a thing on The Athletic, and it was like, who looks after the transfers at each club? And I went down to Leicester, and it was John Rudkin. So I thought, I'm not going to post that. David, I hate you, Butler. Paul remembers On the Buses. Chris, I should invent that, Wayne. If I do it, I'll pay you some money for coming up with it. Chrissypedia. Ice Cream Man. That must mean something.
Is that to do with On the Buses? The ice cream? Have you got a nose like the Ice Cream Man?
I don't know. Anyway,
I have seen you on. I've heard that on some websites you are called Mr. Whippy. I don't know what that means.
Mr. Slash, if you don't mind.
Right, okay.
And we've got Miss Slash underneath, and Miss Slash sounds a lot worse than Mr. Slash.
It does.
There you go. There you go. And if anybody wonders what we're talking about, BBC.
Yeah, let us know, please.
I'm going to, well, as you ask, Craig, every Tuesday on the BBC, either myself or Kate do write a little blog. And I'm actually going to start off with the blog this week because I wrote it. I thought I would. But I don't know whether either of you actually ever bothered to read it or not, but I'm very praiseful of Ruud van Nistelrooy. I mean, Kate, we spoke briefly after the match. I just think he got everything right at the weekend.
Yeah, sorry, Craig. Yeah, you go. Sorry, I thought you said Kate there.
I did.
I thought he said Craig. So there you go. He said Kate, so crack on.
Brad, I will ask you the same question, Craig, but I was going to let ladies go first. I'm not rude.
You're not. You're Chris.
Yay!
I thought he did well. I thought he got the team. I was quite surprised by how strong we went on one hand, but similarly, I think that team needs all the practice it can get, and that is our best 11 at the moment. So I was surprised to see Vardy, to be honest. I'm glad he got hooked a bit earlier because I think we'll need him tomorrow. But yeah, I'm glad he took it seriously. I'm glad we're taking the competition seriously. Now being former holders. And then, yeah, I was pleased to see his substitutions as well. I thought Woot had a really good game. Obviously, the icing on the cake was his finish. And I was a bit disappointed not to see Will Alves. I thought we may see him, to be honest. But, yeah, what a performance. I mean, the first half was a bit wobbly at times, a little bit pedestrian, not quite as clinical as we'd like, but then I think the difference in quality told in the second half, and they fell away really quite sharply in the second half as we started to dominate. So yeah, a good day at the office finally.
Craig, I did actually give you the praise that I think you deserve, because when we did the preview show on Friday, you actually made the point, and one that I quoted a lot with your name, saying that, because you said you could understand him going for the full strength team for the continuity, as Keisha said, and going, not breaking it up, because the performances, yes, we lost the last 3 games. We were playing 3 Champions League sides, and at the start of the season, we probably didn't think we'd get any points from those anyway. I liked your team, as you know. I didn't disagree with the team you picked. You did have sort of 3 or 4 youngsters in, but you made the point that he would probably go full strength.
Yeah, I think as we just mentioned before we came on air, I'm very mindful of looking closely at what the managers and people around the club say and reading between the lines. And it did hint to me that he thought the continuity of the past 2 performances were more important than giving people a break or giving youngsters a chance. That he'd seen improvements against Man City, particularly, and against Villa, and then that he wanted to continue on that line. So it didn't really surprise me, to be honest. Like you, I was a little bit disappointed. I thought Alves could have come on instead of Ayew, to be honest, in that little 10 role, so he could have at least got some minutes. I think the game was won by them. It was still 5-2, I think, and so he could have given him some time there. But overall, I think he's got his mind set on who his sort of 15 is, and he wants to be continuing to work with them.
I mean, Kate, there wasn't even a youngster on the subs bench, but whatever he thought, look, whichever way he'd gone, if we'd lost the match, he would have got absolutely bollocked. I mean, if Vardy had got injured and was out for a month, he'd have got bollocked. I mean, it came off, but I mean, the substitutions were the right substitutes at the right time. It's been a long time since I've been as impressed with a manager of this club controlling the game like he did.
Yeah, for sure. I know what you were saying about Ayew there. Because he didn't really offer a lot when he came on. But yeah, Ruud seems to be quite unwavering in his approach. I don't think he's going to be influenced by the media or players or fans. He seems his own man, which is absolutely what we need. And he seems to be a bit of a calm influence in what's been some choppy waters for us, to be honest. I like the way he goes about his business. I like the way he talks. And I think game upon game since the Man City game, we've just built upon performing as a unit and as an entity collectively, which is really important. There's still lots of work to do. There's still some errors being made. There was a few errors made at the weekend. Obviously, we couldn't even hold out in injury time of the first half to just go in at 3-1. We had to make it more entertaining for the fans by conceding just before half time. So there's still work to do, but you are getting the feeling that it's starting to turn a little bit in the right direction. And yeah, I'm not unconfident in him, put it that way. He's not done anything to make me think, oh God, I don't know if he's the right guy. There's nothing in that for me at the minute.
Craig, I mean, you were both there, but Craig, I mean, Kate said entertaining for the fans. As a fan watching it on telly, I couldn't see a bloody thing. And in fact, my commentary at one point was, okay, guys, the ball is on the far side of the pitch. I've absolutely no idea whether we've got it, they've got it. Bear with me until it comes over this side, and I can tell you what's going on. Literally, that was something I said. I mean, I was annoyed. Where's the yellow ball?
Yeah, I know. I was a bit unusual. I mean, even by now, you'd have thought they could have created a ball like the kids' ball that lights up when you kick it. You know, something like that with some flashing colours in it or something. Because it was typical, though, of all the stick that JJ's been getting, and as soon as he does something good, barely anyone can see it.
Yes. I mean, Kate, I know you're sat on the halfway line. Where were you sat, Craig?
Yeah, so I was. I'm on the 18-yard line towards the cop, so I was even further away from JJ's goal. Yeah, I couldn't see it. People around us had no idea what had gone on. We just, to be fair,
and they said we heard the cheer, and we weren't 100% sure what had gone on.
To be honest, if the people behind the goal were a lot more coordinated, they could have cheered every time the ball went near the goal, and then the rest of the ground would have got up thinking we'd scored.
See, the fans, it's all about me, isn't it? It really is. But look, let's celebrate in the win. Like I say, whichever way, if it had gone wrong, whether it was with youth players or with strongest squad or anybody got injured, Rude would have taken some stick from some fans. So fair play to him. We criticise the managers when things go wrong, which has been a lot for us recently. So fair play to him for going big. They say, don't they, go big or go home. He went huge. It paid off, and let's hope that goes. Because if we lose to Crystal Palace, it will have all been a waste of time. But look, should we have some good news?
Go for it.
Leicester City will not be punished over their current finances, says the Premier League, but still at risk from previous case. Well, we'll put the previous case aside for now. Not one club, Kate, not one club has been done. I know they're going to be changing PSR again, aren't they, soon? So do you think it was a case of, let's just wipe this under the carpet? If it's 4 or 5 million, it's not going to make a lot of difference. Or do you think they would have been really gunning for Leicester?
It's a bit of both for them. It's a precarious position because before this run of PSR issues and points deductions with Everton and Forest as well a couple of years ago, the last time that we were looking at points deductions was Portsmouth way back when, really. And the Premier League have got to be careful that there's no point having a set of rules that multiple teams fall short of every year, because it doesn't make for a good spectacle. You want the table to be decided about what goes on the pitch, not they've got relegated because they had 8 points deducted. It massively needs revamping, which they are looking at. And I think they're looking at trialing stuff this year, aren't they, about the wage of the lowest club or the turnover of the lowest club is a restriction to the rest of them. They're looking at trialing stuff. But I do think there's an element of Leicester have massively poked the bear, and there's a little bit of an egregious feeling about what's going on with Leicester, like reading again that, we might get challenged because basically they think that we should be done. And it's a bit Vicky Pollard, isn't it? It's a bit but from the Premier League all the time. And it's becoming a bit unfair, and it seems like a bit of an agenda to me when there's far bigger fish to fry, when you think that Chelsea have just sold their women's team to comply. Like, look at them. That's what you need to be looking at, not Leicester, who paid the ultimate price anyway and got relegated. So it's a bit of both. I think they don't like us. We've caught them out and how poor their legislation's been, or not even legislation, their rules have been worded. But similarly, they've got to be careful to not isolate and punish at least 10% of the league every single year if they're not careful, because they'll just get taken to court on multiple occasions by these billionaire owners.
Yeah. Vicky, talking of Vicky Pollard, Craig, it is wrong, isn't it, when, we get blamed, and we'll come on to Simon Jordan in a minute, but we get blamed for the, we did this loophole, we did that loophole. Nick DeMarco said there's never any loopholes in the law, it's just badly written laws. But what is the difference between us doing what we did, which was totally legal, and Chelsea doing what they did, which again is legal? I can't see the difference between the two.
No, I mean, by all accounts, they've sold car parks, they've sold anything basically with the Chelsea name on it. And it's the whole thing. The whole thing is ridiculous because, they're trying to create this level playing field, which encourages others to break through the glass ceiling, as it were, and challenge the upper echelon. But what they're doing is stopping that, because everybody's positions is basically set. The likes of Man City, for instance, who were down below until they were bought, they've got to their position because these rules were not in place at the time. So they've had those seasons where they could just spend whatever they want. Chelsea, to a similar extent as well, under Abramovich, could spend whatever they want, build themselves up to this point, and then all of a sudden these new rules are brought in. So you've got the likes of Newcastle, the richest club in the world, who can't spend any of their money. So, all it does is reinforce that big six thing. It goes totally against what they're trying to achieve. I'm not saying that there's an easy way of doing it and you should be able to buy your way to success. But sadly, that is the reality of football these days. There is no team that's going to come through based on one or two seasons of just doing it well on the pitch, because their players will get bought. It's not like the old days where you could work your way through the leagues and then all of a sudden you're in the top six. That's not going to happen these days. So they're just stifling ambition, and I know they're basically the words that our chairman has used when we were putting our case forward.
Kate, I mean, I'm liking this to Formula One, where every year they change the rules. They're trying to make things fairer and bring different things in, and your exhaust pipe can only be so long and your steering wheel can only be so wide, to give the smaller teams a chance of keeping up with the Mercedes and the Red Bulls. Whatever they do doesn't work, and those teams, you either you've got it or you're bad. Should we just accept that those are the best six teams, and we'll do what we want?
I think there's an element of, for me, treating it like any other business in the UK. So if you've got the money and it's clean money, it's not been laundered, and you're not leveraging the company beyond its limits, then why can't a billionaire owner put loads of money into his own business? I don't really understand the logic. What has sport and being a sporting entity got to do with it? Like Craig's just said, Man City were able to flush billions through that company. And now, because they have the slush in there, it's locked away and they can play with it. And you've got Erling Haaland on 650 grand a week, and you're telling me that's PSR? It's not, is it? No one can justify that salary. No one can justify that. And I just think you say there about the big six, should we just leave them to it? But we didn't leave them to it because we won the league. We were number one.
No, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is just say, look, whatever money you've got, spend it.
Yeah, I think that should be allowed. I don't see why not. But the problem is that not only is it they're not looking at it from a fair sporting competition viewpoint, but they're also looking at it from seats at the table, viewpoint. And also, I think there's an exchange of money. There's got to be an exchange of money. They're so protected. How have little old Leicester, with one charge against them last year, one charge against them this year, make headline news? Yet we still haven't heard a peep out of the Manchester City's 115 charges. Not even one of those 115 have been held to account and explored properly. And I just don't understand it. Why are you prioritising Leicester, who have paid a price and got relegated, when you are letting a breach of the rules 115 times win the Champions League? That's clearly buying success, and it's working. And it's robbing other clubs who aren't breaking the rules of winning the Champions League and of winning the Premier League. You're taking someone's position because you're cheating. And I'm sick of banging the drum about it, really.
I think we're all sick of it.
People don't like us because we upset the apple cart and we accidentally won the league, and we've shown ambition and we've tried to do it in a good way. And the only time we've messed up, where we've not had a few big sales to bail us out, and they're all over us like flies around shit, and it's just so suspicious to me. I don't like the feel of it, but what you going to do?
When I said we're all sick of it, I didn't mean you, Kate. I meant
I know you
just in case you thought I was having a dig at you. The thing is, I was listening. I've listened to a lot these last 2 days. But Craig, it's also happening not just in this country. In Spain, you've got Barcelona, who apparently are supposed to be on an embargo and aren't allowed to sign any players, somehow managed to sign another player. So it goes on in other countries as well. Shouldn't it be a case, and I've championed this for a while, that when a buyer buys a club, that they put a bond down, and that bond is kept by the FA. It can earn interest and what have you, so that if anything happens to the club, that money is there to keep it going, pay the wages. I mean, I used to work in the travel industry, and all the travel operators had to be part of ABTA, Association of British Travel Agents, and all the companies had to pay to be illegal and deal with travel agents, had to be part of ABTA and had to put a bond down, so that when the companies went bust, which a lot of them did, late 70s, early 80s, money was there to bring people home. Couldn't that be done? And then say, look, you put your bond down, and therefore you can go and do what you want as long as that bond is there.
I think there's lots of things that they could do, Chris. That sounds like a sensible option, so will never happen. I think.
Sorry, I'm sure you said something I said was sensible.
I mean, what you've got. I mean, there's so many other things they can do. A salary cap, or almost create it like a fantasy football, that you've got X amount of money to spend on transfers and wages. You choose how you spend it, because that way the top clubs can't just scoop up all the best players, because everyone will be able to pay players a decent salary, not an outrageous salary, but a decent salary, and players will have more choice. Almost the equivalent of what they do in the NFL, where they do it on out of the universities on a draft pick. So the weaker clubs get improved every year, and it's cyclical. And we go the opposite way, that we want to lock down those big clubs. Everything's about the big clubs. Don't get me started on when they bang on about the number of games and we should protect the players. That does my head in as well. Everything, the replays going from the FA Cup, benefit of the big clubs or the clubs that are in Europe. If they're going to do that, for me, seed it, so all the lower clubs get an opportunity of a big club at home. If they're going to get rid of that, everything in this country, and also all on the media, is all about the big clubs and protecting those clubs that are in Europe year on, year out. The rest of them don't matter, and it'll stay that way.
If we did that, though, would it not have to be a FIFA worldwide thing? Because if we're saying clubs in the Premier League can only spend this amount, then you're going to get, La Liga, you're going to get Liga and Serie A, Bundesliga. Those teams are going to be coming and going, they can only pay that now. We'll get that player.
Well, potentially, but why shouldn't it be that? The only reason that our clubs can do all that is because of all the TV money that's pumped in. That's where it started. Sky TV changed this game in England forever. And that's where it's come from, and it's money, money, money. If the TV clubs, TV companies pulled their rights, and they just said tomorrow we don't want to show football anymore, clubs would implode. So it's all about that. It's all about marketing and money creation, and that's why Sky and the likes have so much say in modern football. And forget the fans. We're so far down the pecking order. It's unbelievable.
Do you think, though, Kate, that, and it's a very good point that Craig makes, but if Sky and BT, to be honest with you, the main two, turn around and said, look, we're not going to show it anymore, Disney, Netflix, Amazon, who have just pulled out, would all come back in and go, no, we'll pay it.
Yeah, of course they would. Amazon pulled out because the price was getting almost monopoly money. It's a bit of a double-edged sword now, because not only do football need Sky, but Sky needs football. That's how much they're willing to pay, because if they lose their Sky Sports packages, that company will be over in the UK. They paid in the billions this time for the TV rights. Amazon are just going, no thanks. Bezos is like, I make enough money elsewhere, thank you very much. Like, he doesn't need it. They're so diversified in their product, whereas Sky just aren't. Like, Sky, you lose the sport, and it's a tough ask for them to survive. So it's an interesting point, really, but it just doesn't feel right. As time goes on, it just doesn't feel right, does it? Even for the bigger clubs, they know, you see little old Manchester City not winning the league and they think it's the end of the world, and that's not how sport should be.
No. Right. Let's move on. Craig, I think you I don't know if you've listened to this or you've read this. Simon Jordan believes Leicester City should be sanctioned despite confirmation that will not be charged with the breach of profitability and sustainability rules. He was having a go with Jim White, and then he had to go with Stefan Boran later on, who obviously is quite an expert on this. Although he did say, and he did admit when Jim White pushed him, that if he was in charge of Leicester, he would do, or he still had Crystal Palace, he would do exactly the same. I know a lot of what he says is to create debate, and if it wasn't for that, Talk Sport wouldn't survive. But he was an ex-owner, so he kind of knows it. But it did feel, all that conversation, and it was like a 20-minute interview, the clip that was on YouTube, it was all about us and Man City.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's got to be in his bonnet for some reason. He should be championing the smaller club, being an ex-owner of Crystal Palace. And almost saying, well done for getting one over on this big, massive, controlling conglomerate of the Premier League, who want to steamroller any kind of ambition. Well done, little old Leicester. That's what he should be saying, rather than saying that we're the ones in the wrong, and we should be upholding these ridiculous laws. Because on the next program, he'll be talking about how ridiculous PSR is, and he shouldn't be in it. He's got to put himself at the forefront of the argument. And you're exactly right. And I made the note, if he was in the same situation, he would be finding the better lawyers to try and do exactly the same.
He said here, Kate, speaking on TalkSport, the former Palace owner believes City lawyers once again earn their fees. I'm not entirely sure on what basis they've managed to evade it. If they breach the governance, they breach the governance. I suspect it falls into the Bermuda Triangle of jurisdiction again. Look, I go back to what Nick DeMarco said. There is no loopholes in the law. There is just badly written laws.
Yeah, exactly that. And also, the Premier League need to remember that it's not law. It's their rules. You are messing with billionaire owners that you're going to cost them millions of pounds for rules that have, quite frankly, come across like they've been made up by Mickey Mouse and put into place because they haven't catered for every eventuality in the football pyramid, and haven't even thought that, a points deduction team would get relegated before you've had the chance to give them a points deduction. God, heaven forbid that should happen. So it just comes across a bit egregious, like I say, and a bit we've pissed them off. And it feels like a bit of a mob mentality, I think, to be honest, from the Premier League. And I'm not sure what he's even saying about getting solicitors involved. I'm not aware that that's even happened yet. We've simply submitted our accounts. The end. Have a look at them, see what you think, and charge us. If you charge us, we might need to hire a solicitor to help us out. But we've not been charged, so why would there be any solicitors involved, or lawyers, or Kieran Maguire's involved, or Nick DeMarco's to help bail us out? Because we haven't broken any rules. So him saying that Leicester should be sanctioned for what? But for what? What? Because you think we should, because you don't like us. You think that we quite clearly have broken the rules, even though we haven't. Like, it just sounds like an emotional vendetta against a club for whatever reason. And it's only one obvious one, really, in that we won the league once and we pushed a few noses out of place, that you want to come after us because we're smarter. Like, I don't think there's anything worse than dealing with a billionaire who's grieving for his dad, and you're messing about with his legacy with some Mickey Mouse made up rules. Like, have a word with yourself.
I don't think he's ever got over the realization of what he actually bought when he got Jeffrey Schlupp.
Was that him? I'm not sure that he was there then, but I get the point. Yeah, I mean, he's going on here, Craig, about, Leicester breaching the governance again. But we haven't, because if we had, we would have been charged.
Exactly. It's just creating a story without paying any attention to the facts. It makes good radio, doesn't it? It encourages people to call up. And that's what they're all about. That's what TalkSport does.
Yes,
he's the best one at it. I'm not a big fan of Jim White, but at least he does try to reel him in and make him accountable now and again.
I do, as I say, I do like him because when he says things, he's talking from he's been there, seen it done, he got the T-shirt and got it rinsed, and give me him over Keown any day of the week. But Kate, we've got to accept, and I'll come to you with the same question, Craig, and I don't know how much you've both seen, but Kate, first of all, they're not writing, they are going to appeal the appeal from the summer decision. So basically that was found in their favour, and this is how I understand it. We then went to the High Court with 3 of the highest judges there can be, and they said, actually, no, Leicester's correct. Now, to appeal that, apparently they've got to prove at some point that what they've got is completely rubbish and it was wrong, and the people that were doing it weren't the best people, and that there's better people out there to make the decision. But then that's kind of saying, if they're appealing, that, well, the people that we've employed are shit.
Yeah. God, it's almost like you feel like you can't argue with stupid. If you can't accept the weakness and incompleteness of your rules that you've put together and learn from them and think, do you know what? Although that's what we meant, we didn't write it down. It's very difficult to reason with someone. That just feels like that's where they've got to be really careful, because Leicester will and Top will take them to court if it's found to be unfairly hassling and demonising Leicester, when there's a hell of a lot going on in the Premier League, not just Leicester City and not just Manchester City and Chelsea. There's a hell of a lot going on. Everton is suspicious. There's so much going on that they need to turn the spotlight off us, but they think they've got us. But what they forget about is the rules aren't written correctly, but also they forget that there's no limit under PSR under what a billionaire can spend on lawyers.
Yeah.
And he will keep going if it's right, because Top is an ethical man and he's a fair businessman, and he will have seen quite a lot from his dad and learnt the ways of the world a bit. And sometimes you just have to, it's a hill you've got to die on.
Yes.
And that's what Top's all about. Unless you can prove to me that we have done wrong, which they can't prove, then I'll take you to the cleaners, because it's worth every one of my pennies.
I'm just going to sidetrack there a bit with my OCD, Kate. You are going to have to sort out those pictures behind you.
Why?
Because that one, the white one above the Leicester City logo, has got to be straight above it. It's up to an angle.
It's because it's a bigger thing.
Yeah, but it's just still. That's just my OCD getting in. One day,
You need to have a reshuffle of that shelf behind you.
I reshuffle it every time the cleaner comes, which is every other week. She moves it all around, and she on purpose doesn't put it back right so that I know she's cleaned it. She's there for a few hours, and I've got an hour afterwards putting back every chairs and everything where they should be.
To be honest, Chris, I mean, every shirt that you've got on the back wall is odd except number 28. So I think that one needs to move.
Oh,
It does. If you're OCDing, you can't be having even and odd numbers.
No,
And they need to be in numerical order as well.
Exactly. Yeah, don't get us started.
I've opened up. I suddenly have lost control of this argument, haven't I?
Which brings us nicely back to the point I was going to make, is that the people who run the Premier League have lost total control of the Premier League.
Yeah.
If you go back, however many years it is since the Premier League's been started, it was little more than the same of a group of chairman and a group of people who wanted to do exactly what this European Super League are doing. So those chairmen are now being called idiots for wanting to try and change football. The Premier League was set up in exactly the same way. A small group who wanted more money for themselves and wanted to create their own, get into bed with Sky TV and have their own deals and blah, blah, blah. What they've created is this giant behemoth of a juggernaut of football and sport and money that they have no longer any control over. It's a much bigger thing than the people who are running the Premier League, and they cannot in any way keep up with the fact that they're now having to deal with 20 super smart business people who are billionaires who have run companies, who are now running rings around them, and they're trying any little way they can to hold control. And I think there's a big shake-up coming in the Premier League itself, because the people who are running it are no longer capable of running it. To be honest, they're trying to cling to power with the little power they've got.
Indeed. Have you purposely blurred out your background?
I have blurred out my background.
Chris, if we take a vote, I think people may say, could you just blur out the foreground?
Well, can I say, before you get onto this, Craig, Scott makes a very valid point. The curtains behind Craig need the gaps adjusted. Very true, Scott. Very true. I've lost it now. Craig, 2 points, though. Stefan Boren said he does not understand where the Premier League are coming from with their appealing the appeal. He said he's never known it before. That's the idea of appeal, because if they appeal the appeal, we will appeal the appeal, and it will just go on and on and on. There's no way this is going to get sorted out by the end of the season.
I thought it was interesting today, again, talking about reading between the lines, that a statement was put out that said they wanted to reiterate that the Premier League have no charges against Leicester City for this season, but that doesn't have any impact on the ongoing legal contention that is going on between Leicester and the Premier League. But that was a joint statement. So the two of them are working together to put these statements out. This wasn't us making a statement, or it wasn't the Premier League making their own statement. This was a joint statement that there would be no further comment about the ongoing court case.
Yeah,
I think it's all going to get swept under the carpet in some way. Nobody loses. Yeah, nobody loses face. They may be some kind of fine hanging over us, for 3 years if we breach it again, blah blah blah. Yeah. But that's what'll happen, I think.
I had that feeling as well, and I think, like you say, it'll go on. I mean, Man City's March, I think, is when theirs comes up, and that will all be. Yeah. Nobody will be talking about Leicester then. Kate, last point on this before we move on. Kieran Maguire said that football, as in the EPL, have to decide whether they are a sport or a business, because football these days is a business. And you made the point earlier, the owners are businessmen. It's no longer a case of, Joe Bloggs that owns the local butchers owns the football club as well. These are big businessmen, and they are treating these clubs as businesses, and quite rightly as well. And therefore, maybe that's why we don't see so many literally going under these days. But you can't have it both ways, can you? And the EPL have got to decide which way they're going with this.
Yeah, they really do have to decide that, and they need to make sure that above all, because otherwise it's not worth anything, is that the fair sporting competition is maintained, and little clubs can dare to dream and can have, get a billionaire owner to come in and buy them some success. I think Wrexham are going to be the next big thing that they'll pick on, because they won't like it. They absolutely won't like it. It's amazing at the minute. It's on Disney Plus. There's lovely, feel good about it because it's like a local community club. But wait till they start rattling, some cages and fluffing the feathers of some of the big boys. If they draw someone out the hat in the FA Cup, which isn't, unheard of, and they knock someone big out the FA Cup, like there's going to be people that will be annoyed about that, and they just got to be so careful. And I think Top chose his words so carefully in that statement last year about the fair sporting competition and daring to dream and wanting to do better, because as the rules stand at the minute, it is absolutely impossible. It's impossible to do that. So what's the point in sport then? What's the point?
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be interesting to know. Sorry, Chris, quick one. I mean, who owns the Premier League?
Well, allegedly, we all got a share in it, haven't we? 20 people. Well, it's 21, isn't there? The Premier League, and then the 20 clubs.
Because what's to stop, one of the rich oil barons from the Middle East decided to buy the Premier League and then just set up their own rules? At some point, something will happen with this, and the people who are at the Premier League are going to find themselves so far out of the depth. It's untrue.
Yeah. Fernando makes a very good point, and one that I was actually going to bring up. The shake-up will see the shake-up will be the EPL having its own Netflix-like app. That is what I've heard. Actually, they are looking at possibly doing. It will be interesting because it's almost like killing the golden goose, isn't it? But look, let's move on from PSR. Is he? Isn't he? Has he? Hasn't he? Will he? Won't he? Woyo Hulabali, new fullback. According to Fabrizio, he has signed. According to the news today, he was having a medical at Leicester. All I can say is thank God the first player we're bringing in as a centre-back, Kate.
Is he a centre-back? I thought he was
a right back, I meant. Sorry, a right back. He can play on the left, which worries me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
on the left and Justin stays on the right. But no, we need the right back. That is the position, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because I think JJ just needs a rest, to be honest. I think he needs a bit of a break from the team. And I don't think that's the end of his season at all. I think it will be a battle for who has that right back position, even when Ricky P does come back. But yeah, it seems I've seen a few videos of this guy. I mean, he's really well built. He's powerful. He's fast. He looks a decent player on the ball. 3 million's an absolute steal, really.
When I put that up, I thought it was a misprint and he'd missed the one-off and it was 13.
No, it's because he's only got 6 months left on his contract, I think. So we've actually, timed the purchase quite well. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know whether, isn't Palmer where Rude used to play years ago? Is that where he was with Enzo?
I don't know. I don't know.
Like it might be. So I wonder if
I think Enzo. I read that Enzo bought him.
Oh, okay. So it's promising. It's a promising signing, really. And I do just wonder that if the club also wanted to get today out of the way for obvious reasons before they really go for it with the checkbook, because after this year's accounts, that horrible loss of 21-22 of something like 90 million now drops off. for the next rolling 3-year period. So that's the big relief as well. And potentially we've got some spare change lying around if we wanted to splash the cash on anybody that becomes available during this window. But it will probably be saved for the summer, to be honest, if we can just get there in this league. So yeah, it's an exciting starter for 10, I think.
Craig, do you know much about him? Are you? I mean, I'm excited by this because I think, for me, I think we've probably seen the end of Ricardo. I know he's got a bit of an extended contract, but I think he will be. Well, I've said this about Vardy, but I think he'll be a bit part player. He'll come on, maybe get 2 games, be injured for 3 months. Come on, play 2 games, be injured for 3 months. I just don't think there's a good enough player still left in there. This guy. This is what we need at the club, isn't it?
Yeah, I think on Ricardo, if we were going back a few years, we'd probably have a testimonial for him and we'd wave him on his way, because I think it's going to be very difficult for him to play enough games to be a regular anymore, sadly. I'm not as convinced on this guy walking straight into the team, to be honest. When you look at where he's played over the past season and a half, I think, let's say he's played 60 games. I think he's played 40 at right back and he's played 20 at left back, which to me means what he's bought is someone who can work both sides. And if you've got him and you've got JJ, you've basically got a fullback who can play both sides if required, which means that's only one place on the bench. You've got more flexibility there. I think he will get his chance at right back more than left back, but I think JJ's had a shocker of a season, but he's a decent player, and it doesn't matter who you bring in on that right back. They need to be helped out more by the people alongside them and the people in front of them. I don't think, we talked about this last week, Chris, when we were talking about stats on fullbacks and how often they get forward and putting crosses in the box. We ask a hell of a lot of our fullbacks to get forward and support, and we're really, really bad at covering them in behind. So even if they change to this guy, that doesn't solve the whole problem in what's going on behind them in terms of players taking responsibility of filling holes, and that's not happening enough at the moment. But he looks like a decent athlete, someone who's a bit more aggressive, which I like. So everything I've seen of him, he looks good.
If we can get a decent Premier League player for £3 million, I'll be very happy. I mean, for me, the ideal solution then is, as and when Ricky gets fit, you've got Ricky and Koulibaly fighting it out for the right back. And look, please put he's so much, he's shit on the right. I know he got 2 goals at the weekend, but he plays on the left. That's his better position. And you got him.
I thought Christensen was fantastic at the weekend. That guy must have Duracell batteries running through him, because he never stops. No. He absolutely never stops. He's always willing to run up. Very often he won't get the ball, but he's fantastic. And again, it all feeds into my theory of wanting three centre backs and 2 wing backs. If you're looking at the makeup of our squad, that's what it's crying out for me. But if you're asking fullbacks to get forward, whoever it is, whatever side, you've got to fill in the gaps for them to help them do it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I'm not saying that that JJ would automatically get that left back slot. But I'm just saying it would then be between him and Christensen, and you've got that competition. Kate, Sammy Braybrook, who was the flavour of the month along with Alves at one point, and then we never heard from him. Then he was sort of sent out. And I don't know why Alves wasn't, because keeping him was neither use nor bloody ornament, because he's not getting any game time. But he's been recalled from his loan spell at Dundee. He's played 8 times, and then weren't all full games. And he's training with the City first team again. It says here, now this is what, when I did this, obviously otherwise they say it's a copy and paste job, where he will remain for the rest of the season, it says here.
Yeah, I didn't know that bit about remaining here for the rest of the season, but I think Craig alluded to earlier before we came on air that the wording of Ruud is interesting there, like he's remaining for now. So I don't think Ruud gives anything away. I would expect him to be reloaned out, to be honest, because he's not got what he needed from this loan spell. I would fully expect him to go on loan again, to be honest, because if we're not using Alves, I can't see that we're using him. But who knows? But I'm glad that there is an eye being kept on these players to make sure that they are making good use of any loan spells they're having and they're getting the football that we need them to get. So we'll see what happens, I guess, in the next few weeks. And I bet he's pleased as well, because there's nothing worse than being all the way up there away from home and not getting any game time and not trying to push forward your career. So, yeah, hopefully if Ruud sees something in brilliant, exciting, but similarly, I do think he'll go back out on loan somewhere.
I mean, he's almost like the Leicester City Edward, isn't he? Goes to a club on loan and you never see him. Craig, what were you saying? Because you were saying you had read a slightly different wording.
Yeah, just it said for now he'll remain with us. So unless something amazing comes up, so a good loan deal or somebody comes in to buy him, I think he'll stay there. I wonder with Ruud whether he's got a view on next season, and he wants all of these players, all of these bright stars that we've supposedly got coming through, whether he wants them closer to hand to assess them himself, working with the rest of the players, the rest of the squad, so he can shuffle that pack and say, right, these are the ones that I've decided I want to keep. These are the ones that we can move on. It's very difficult when players go out on loan because they can excel at one club. And then when they come back, how can you integrate them again? You kind of starting again. And I think he's got half a season now to get most of these players back, have them on the training pitch, seeing whether they're capable of doing a job for Leicester City next season, and then deciding on the makeup of his squad. So it doesn't surprise me that he's called him back. He did get an injury, which meant he didn't get much game time. But I think he was one of the shining lights. Him and Alves, the guys captained England at the under-21s, I think, or under-19s. Yeah. So he's a good player, and he's widely thought of as being a very good player. And I think just Ruud will be able to see him a lot more close at hand.
Right. Please don't take this the wrong way, Craig, because I know you won't, but would you like to just go and get some tissues so you got some tissues handy?
That could go one of two ways, Chris, and I'm not sure which one.
Did you notice the pregnant pause there, just to let everybody in the chat go, hang on?
Yeah.
because this is Kate's moment. No, it's not. Don't get your clothes on, Kate. This is going to be upsetting for one and not for a couple of others, I think. Kate, farewell phase, wandering about, told he can leave in the summer. For me, go. Why wait till the summer? If you can sell him now, I'd sooner keep a Coley than Faze. Yes, all right. He had his Brazilian moment when he actually got into the ball first, took it off the opposition player, ran with it and struck it, and it didn't end up in Rosette. But you can't let you forget all the bad performances he's had. I don't think this guy. I mean, the first season we got relegated, and I wasn't obviously all down to him. And when he was on international duty, he got a 0 rating from his own press in Belgium. He wasn't part of the golden generation of Belgian players. He came in after that, and I just think he believes his own publicity. I would love this guy to go. And if we're talking about getting another centre-back in, which we are doing, no idea who, he would be the one that I think we can jettison. Keep calm.
I think if we can get somebody in, he would be my first choice to get out for sure. But I can't see that happening in this window, and it would be too much of a risk. Even if we do sign a centre-back, what if that centre-back ends up being absolutely awful? It's something to consider in the summer. And if we can get some money for him, which I think he's still in contract for a couple of years, isn't he? So we'll hopefully get some decent money for him, because he's an okay player. He just has these huge lapses in concentration, and is a poor man's Soyuncu in that way, really. And he does believe his own hype. Like, even the celebration was weird on Saturday. Like, why did he run over to the fans and hold his hands up like he scored against his old club? Like, what? What is that about? why are you holding your hands up as if to say, yeah,
Maybe
sorry?
it was apologetic. Say, sorry, guys, that should have been in row Z. That
You
didn't mean
it's
that
an
to
absolute banger, and you celebrate at home because it's you've won a game. I don't really understand it at all. I find him a strange character. Like, he's cooked his ears to the fans before at Leicester when we've given him a bit of a hard time. I think he thinks he's Rolls Royce, and at times he's Morris Minor. So I'm not a huge fan of his attitude, to be honest. I think he thinks he's better than he is. But similarly, I think he has some good moments. I thought he played really well on Saturday. But for Premier League stuff, he just worries me. He does worry me.
A Mercedes car with a Skoda engine in it, eh? Craig, the case of the defence, sir. Over to you.
I mean, I like him in comparison to who else we've got. Let me temper it. I can shed a little bit of light on his goal celebrations, because I was speaking to someone today that he ran to the crowd where his wife and son were supposed to be. They were up in the boxes at that end, and he went over there to celebrate with them. This is from someone who sits right in front of the box where they were. And he ran over to celebrate with them, and his wife had gone to make a coffee and had missed it. So whether he was gesturing and she'd come,
right, can he?
yeah, she'd come back out to just see the celebration, and whether he was just holding his hand up like, where the hell were they? I don't know. I didn't see it that closely, but I mean, what I do like about him is his aggression, and his aggression gets him into trouble sometimes because he doesn't know when to back off. So he can get drawn out of position. But for me, I like him over Cody, to be honest, because I think the problem is when you've got Vestergaard and you've got Cody, you've got basically two centre halves who would lay down their coat if it was a little bit muddy and allow the attackers to walk through. I mean, Isak against Newcastle, for instance, just wandered through that defence. Wout Faes would have smacked him early on. Now, he may have got booking, but he would have known he was in a game. And I don't think we do that. And I think it's important that we have someone with a bit more aggression. But he has got a mistake in him. And we know that. It's what you can, it's whether what you get from him balances out the damage that he can do. And I know it's a tricky one. I'd like him to stay, but I could accept him going if we replace him with someone who's a little bit more cultured, shall we say, but has the same level of aggression, because you're not going to get anywhere if you've got defenders who don't want to scrap.
Yeah. I mean, I get your point on that. And we do know that if you've got Cody and Vestergaard together, you know, you haven't sort of got a racing car. You've got Formula One. You've got a bangers league there, you know, when it comes to speed.
We saw them tear against Wolves. I mean, they were so passive. It was unbelievable.
And I would say at this point, I'm going to make a bit of an apology to Wout Faes here, because when that second goal went in, I did actually do my get out of my club chant. But I do think Winks actually played him in a little bit.
Winks was at fault for both goals.
Yeah. Well, we will have a look at that when we come to the teams. And thank you very much. I've seen your message, Kate. No problem. Tom Cannon, let's speed through these here. Then Tom Cannon, how do you solve a problem like Tom Cannon? For any Sound of Music fans, you'll know you'll be singing along to that in your head. He's coming back, Kate. We've only got until tomorrow, I think. So all this sort of, well, he's played too many games for us to recall him, isn't true. But we've only got until Wednesday to do that. Otherwise, he stays at Stoke, apparently. But we're going to be calling him back to possibly just sell him. Sheffield United are one team that are after him. And then there's another couple as well. I don't know whether Stoke will buy him or not. Are we missing something here?
I don't think we have enough information to know. Genuinely, I don't. The moments that I've seen him play, I think he's done okay. He's shown some good moments. I think he's a great finisher. He reminds me of Nugent in that sense, really. But he hasn't had enough game time, particularly last year, to show what he can do, really, which was really disappointing of Enzo, I thought, because, you know, given that Daka wasn't up to it. There was plenty of opportunities to try this lad out in different formations last year, even as in a 2 with Vardy, and he just didn't do that. So I just don't know is the answer. But what I'm fearful of is having a situation like another Kramaric where he goes elsewhere and you see him flying. You think, oh my God, that's one that should have got away. Like for Hoffenheim, Kramaric was just insane the season after he left us. I think he's still doing really well there now. And I just don't want it because £8 million isn't an insignificant amount of money, but it's not the end of the world either to pay for someone that's going to come good. And maybe it's one of those again where Ruud needs to have a look at him and he wants to recall him back like with Braybrook because he wants to have a proper look because there's still a lot of the season to go. We're not quite halfway yet. And Vardy, the chances are that Vardy isn't going to be able to make every game. And that's even if he's not injured, that's just through recovery time. So I still believe Daka isn't it. If we can get cash for Daka, sell him immediately. I'd like to see us try something different. I'm not hanging my hat on.
What are you going to say then? You'd like to see us try Edward? I was going to say.
I'm not going to say it's going to be brilliant, but similarly, what we've got at the minute is not working in terms of a Vardy replacement. So we've got a guy here that hasn't been tried. So let's see what that's about properly. But who knows?
We know, Craig, that he can put the goals away in the Championship. He's done that for Stoke this season, Preston before we bought him. We will never know if he can do it. People are saying, well, look, he's doing it at that level, but who knows if he can do it at the Premier League? Well, we don't know because we've not given him the chance. And everybody that says, well, he's not going to be good enough for the Premier League. Jamie Vardy, we bought him from the bloody conference. He's surely we've got to give him a chance.
Yeah, is he definitely coming back? Have we called him back?
Well, there's talks of it. Whether we actually have or not, I don't know.
I think if we call him back, even having 2 weeks on the training ground with Ruud, I think Ruud would be able to identify whether there was a player there or not. He's one of the best strikers. Maybe
we call striker Tom Cannon from his loan at Stoke, but it would be only to send him out to a new club. What? He's playing every game at Stoke. He's scoring for Stoke. Why are you bringing him back and sending him on loan to another club?
I'd like to see him hang around. What he would do is improve our shots ratio because he just likes getting shots off. The amount of possession we have versus the number of shots we have is ridiculous. We don't shoot enough. So I think he's an instinctive striker, and Ruud would find that out pretty quick, I think.
Yeah. Right. Game tomorrow night. I'm not going to do a full-on preview mode here, and I know you've got to go, Kate, so I want to get this in before you go, and then me and Craig can just sort of carry on. Vestergaard could well be back. Hermansen we know isn't. Indeed, he isn't, and Ricardo isn't. So that's the injury update. But I want to look at the two. You both supplied me. Now, this is going to be very difficult for people to see, so bear with me. I will read it out. Kate, your team is on the left. So you've gone for Stolacic in goal, Justin, and sorry, Craig, Cody, Vestergaard, Christensen, Samani and Winks. And then Winete, Elkanous, Mavididi, and then Vardy up front. Craig, do you want to have a talk about Kate's team? Then we'll let Kate talk about your team very quickly.
Yeah, it's the same as it was basically, isn't it? Not really any change there. I'm pleased that you've got Buonanotte in there and not Ayew. There would have been serious questions if you'd put Ayew in there anywhere, Kate.
Kate, on Friday he was trying to put Ward in goal, so don't take any nonsense from him.
I think Ruud will start with Ayew. I think Ruud loves him.
I do as well. I do as well. But
oh no, we bought him, haven't we? So we can play against Palace.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's have a look at. Let's just have a look at Craig's team, which is almost the same as you. And I'm pressing so many wrong buttons here. I've just gone up to 1,600%.
He's gone for Wandering Woot and
Skip. You've got Rooting and you've got Skip in there
instead of Samari. Yeah. The only reason is, as I say, I think you've got if Mateta plays. Then he's just going to bully Cody and Vestergaard all night long. I think you need someone who's happy to have a bit of a fight with him. It could go either way, but I think you need some aggression in there against Mateta.
My worry with that is you've got FaZe
Football
and
is
Justin.
entertainment, Craig. We need entertaining.
You've got FaZe and Justin there together, and that's going to leave a huge gap in that corner.
I don't know. I've not seen anything from Cody that tells me.
Can I just get Kate's comments on yours? Because I know Kate's got to go.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's
mate.
Fair.
Kate, what your thoughts on? Well, apart from FaZe and Skip, I think it is your team. So your thoughts on those two?
Yeah, well, I've just covered Woot on the previous thing, so I don't think Woot is good enough, to be honest. I know what Craig's saying about Cody. I think Cody for me is brought on better with Vestergaard. I like him in a pair with Vestergaard. I thought Cody with Fast at the weekend showed Cody's weakness, to be honest. Fast did really well on Saturday, but I thought Cody, I thought it showed really how poor he was on the ball on Saturday. There was a few instances where he just isn't on it at all, and I don't know whether that's because that's the type of player that he is. He's a bit more straightforward, or whether it's because he's had the best part of a year and a half with no football. I don't know. But I like the pairing of Cody and Vestergaard. For me, it brings me the least amount of blood pressure issues when I watch us on the pitch. But as for Samare, I just think Skip and Winks isn't quite physical enough for me. And again, I don't think we should write Skip off. I think he's again yet to have a run in the team. We've been a poor team. We've been a poor outfit, and he's been part of that. So it's hard to get form and shine a bit when you're having such a bad run of form across the team. But I just want us to push Samari on as much as possible, because I think he could be a real special player for us. Yes. But either way, I'm not really bothered that much. If Craig's or if it's mine, I'm not really bothered either way.
Yeah. My problem with him, we need a lot more from that central pair, to be honest. Whoever it is, we need more from them. Winks was at fault for both goals the other day, but for me, Samari, there's definitely a player in there, but he flatters to deceive for me, because when you look at his defensive contributions, he lets players drift away from him far too easily, and he doesn't seem willing to actually try and close them down. And offensively,
FaZe or Damari, because it could have played both of them, couldn't it?
Just Damari. So he doesn't contribute defensively enough, and he doesn't contribute offensively enough. He's created 3 chances all season, and he takes the easy option far too many times. If you watched him, the number of times he will just take the easy pass back to whoever's given it. And we know that he can turn, and he can be so powerful when he's got his mind to it. But he doesn't do it enough for me, and he's not doing it enough. So for me, we need more in there. We need more endeavour and pitch coverage. So for me, he needs to either show up or go for me.
Kate, I'm going to let you go. Do pop back. We'll be finished by then, but when you've had your meal, and just my team's coming up in a minute, and on. But Kate, thanks very much. Your link to follow you is in the description below. Enjoy your food.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, take care.
I'll see you tomorrow, pre-match. I'll send you a video and stuff.
Indeed. Oh yes. I like those videos. You keep them coming.
Steady on. It's not that type of show.
Take care, Kate.
Bye.
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 Sorry about that, Craig. I just want to say, I know she was sent that message saying she needed to leave.
Right.
On that, so I want to. But yeah, coming back. No, I get what you're saying. With Samari. Can I show you mine?
Yes. Yeah. Show me yours, Chris.
We've seen yours. Let me show you mine. There we go. Now, again, you might not be able to see that, but basically, it's not a lot different. It's a lot you can go. Now, I have gone. I'm sorry, Cody, Vestergaard, Christensen, and you've just in because we've got to. Everything else is virtually the same. Again, it's just that middle two. Although I was tempted to put Daka in because Vardy had played so much, but he was taken off. But he still had a long game at the weekend. But I just think you can't. I think if you don't play Vardy, it almost gives the opposition a bit of a boost, if you like.
Yeah.
I am fed up with Winks. and this is something that Craig always used to point out, that people used to say to him, Spurs fans, he is not a Premier League player, he is a Championship player, which is why he was so good last season. Look, I don't agree with that. I think he is a Premier League player, but is he going to be the hill that Rude dies on? You know, we said this about other players, haven't we? You know, with Yuri Tielemans.
Yeah.
And he made two really bad mistakes. Now, for me, we haven't got the time to turn around and say, oh, well, like with Daka last season, we'll give him a chance. He'll play it out, if you like. You know, Daka should have been taken out a long time before he was. And I think you've got to look at Winks. Justin would be out, but we just haven't got the option. It is Winks or Chowdhury, let's be honest. So for me, Soumaré, I do like the way Soumaré gets forward, and he is that quarterback presence, if you like. You know, you wouldn't want to meet him down the back alley, would you?
No, but I don't get this. I like the way he goes forward. When was the last time you saw him have an attempt on goal?
He's set
make a final pass through to someone. I don't see it. I don't see him get forward. This is my problem. That you've got two players who are happy to just sit there, and our forward players are just so isolated. You know, there's times when the wingers look up. There's nobody in the box. If Vardy hasn't made it, no one else is making it. And you look at, I was watching the Man U Arsenal game, and that Collier came on for Man U, who we've been linked with on loan. Yeah. He was busting a gut to get up in the box and support. We need a lot more. People say we've got loads of midfield players. We've got a lot of average midfield players. We haven't got anyone, in my mind, who is a top-notch midfield player. And we're weak there, and we need more from them. Whoever it is, whoever that pairing is, we need more from them. And they're not giving it to us.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate with you, then, obviously. Yeah. To me, when I look at those two roles, they are defensive midfielders. So that is their main role. Now, we've got Christensen going forward, we've got Justin going forward. We haven't got a back four. Let's be honest, whatever we say about whether it's, you know, Faze or Cody or Vestergaard or Akoli, we have not got a back four that we can feel 100% confident in, have we really? You know, so we do need that cover there. Maybe they would get forward more if we had more confidence in that back 4-3-5, whatever he decides to play. I get what you're saying. We don't look, because when we linked up against QPR, we looked really good. Who knew? Who knew when you put a few passes together that you look good? For me, I mean, I'd like to see Alves in there, of course I would. But is this a game that you can risk players like that?
No, I think Alves, for me, takes the 10 role. He takes one of those other supporting midfield, you know.
Oh, yes. No, I'm not saying that, but can we risk him?
No, I don't think so. When he's not getting 10 minutes in a game just to see what he's worth, I'd be more than happy with those two midfielders if we were playing three centre halves. And then you've got five going forward. Mavidi or Buonanotte, you know, tucks inside. Canus tucks inside. You've got those two in behind Vardy is enough for me with the two fullbacks bombing on, or wing backs.
Yes.
But, you know, we're talking about asking players to cover 50 yards, 60 yards, to just have it within them to want to try and get forward and support. And I don't think it's in the mindset. And I know part of that is because, you know, they're probably worried about leaving gaps behind, but we don't fill the gaps anyway. Nobody goes and fills in at right back when Justin's gone. So I just think we need more from them. We need more desire to get up and down the pitch. And the reason I put Winks in rather than Soumaré was that he tends to get forward a bit more. He's scored a few goals here and there, but he's made more passes in that final third than Soumaré is. And nobody's more disappointed in Soumaré than me, because when he's on it, he's such a good player and he looks it.
Yeah.
You know, we've had 20-minute spells with him just bossing the midfield, getting it and brushing people off, you know, almost running like a running back in American football, you know, and just palming people off. but he doesn't do it enough, and he takes the easy option for me too much, and he needs to be benched to ask to fight for his spot.
But then could you not apply that to Winks? You know, Winks is making. I mean, those passes that he played
They were
against
terrible. Yeah. But I do see more offensive. Yeah, I see more. I would be more worried having Skip and Samari. If you were going to do that for me, it would have been in the cup game. As I said when we were talking about the team, I think it's easy for Skip to take the secondary role and have this sort of inferiority complex and not take control. Maybe if you put him in alongside Samari, he would be forced to take more control. I'm not sure, but whoever it is, we just need more from them.
Yeah, for me, having seen, and he's making a lot of those mistakes at the moment, Winks. You know, it's not just this game. There are a lot of games where he's doing, and yes, he does have a lot of passes, but how many of those are between him and Vestergaard? Backwards and forwards. And I just think, give him a break in this game, because, you know, I would hate at this time or at 10 o'clock tomorrow night be sat here going, we've lost 1-0 because Winks played a back pass that didn't go to the player and we lost 1-0.
Yeah.
You know, but,
I mean, that's always going to be there for a midfielder. I mean, Maddison did it enough, didn't he? He played some shocking passes back. But I think the problem is they've been as good as Maresca was, and then Brendan before it, the offensive nature of players is being coached out of them, is what it seems to me. And it is possession over forward thinking. The number of times, if you actually watch a game and then made a note of the number of passes back to the guy who just gave you the ball we made, rather than realizing you've got time and space to turn and look forward and move it forward quicker. It's so frustrating. And as you said, you know, sometimes when you watch it on TV, you don't see it all, but at the ground, you can see where the gaps are. And you just think, just ping it over the top. You know, the way that Liverpool do, the way that Newcastle do, even Forest do, you know, that's how to expose teams who are playing such a high line, not try and play tiki-taka football in front of them.
No, and especially when you're fighting for your Premier League life, you know. Yeah. Do we stick with players too long? Do you think? You know, because of who they are, and we don't risk dropping them.
I think what we've got at the minute, we've created a team which I think is okay, but there's no stars really. We may have a couple, you know, Abdul when he comes back. El Canous, I think, looks like a star. Buonanotte, but he's going to go back. Beyond that, have we got anyone you would say was a real strong Premier League player? I think we're a little bit mediocre at the minute. I think we're good enough to stay in the league.
Yes,
but we are a little bit mediocre, and we need some strengthening for sure.
I just think it's like, you know, we said last season, you know, in the relegation season, you know, we were sticking with players. Tielemans is one, probably the main one. When we could all see he wasn't performing, it was almost like, then drop him because it's Yuri Tielemans.
And it's difficult. It's difficult having a squad together, isn't it? Because if you look about it, over the past 20 months, we've had 4 managers. I would say, you know, at the end of Rodgers' reign, then Maresca, then Cooper, and now Rude. It's very difficult to know who's buying the players for whose team. You know, so every time you have that managerial change, you're looking at changes in systems, changes in players, who likes what. It's very difficult. We need to be able to get through this system and allow Rude to try and build a team that he wants.
Yeah. Very quickly, just going back to my OCD, your curtains are starting to annoy me now because there is a gap in them.
Okay. Let me...
You're going to make it bigger. I know you're going to do that. Yes, bastard. Just to keep up, we're about... we've got some half times. Brentford 0, Manchester City 0. Chelsea 1, Bournemouth 0. Hate this. West Ham United 2, Fulham 0.
What? Fulham?
I know. And Nottingham Forest 1, Liverpool 0. I'm looking at the tape. That I'm thinking of my predictions, and I don't think I'm there with any of those, to be honest with you. Fair play to
that's
Forest.
disappointing.
If they can beat Liverpool, that does smash the whole, I think, race wide open. But we'll see. Craig,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Give me a prediction before you go.
2-1.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I'm going to go 2-1. We're not going to keep a clean sheet.
No.
I don't think that is on the cards. 6-pointer.
You know what? I was just thinking, he's not told me if this is one that we can afford to not win. And there he comes in.
I don't like to disappoint you. You. Would you take a draw if I to you now?
No, I think you're right. I mean, these 2 games we've got to get a minimum 4 points. I think anything other than that, 2 draws and we're letting winnable games slip away from us.
Yes, we are. And look, Fulham are beatable. West Ham are proving that tonight. The old Potter magic. See what I did there?
Yeah, well
Thank
done,
you,
mate.
Craig. Thank you very much. Enjoy the match tomorrow, mate. And you're away at the weekend, so have a good weekend away.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate that.
So
All right.
care.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers, Chris. Bye.
Bye, mate. Bye. And don't forget, if you want to follow Craig, his link is in the description below for his Twitter. You just search Craig Bird. Thank you, mate. Search Craig Bird. He is the first. He is the original. Because you could bear that by saying he is the oldest. Of course, you could do that. I wouldn't, of course, because I wouldn't be that horrible and nasty. Not while he's still in the green room, anyway. I would like this to be. I can see what he's doing. 1 more minute. Is that what you're saying? Or is it 2? Hang on, he wants to. Did you want to come back in now? Oh, don't worry. Look, Michael says I would like to see Alvis in the building tomorrow night. We need to start giving these youngsters a bit of a go, don't we? Scott agrees with Craig. You don't see as much attacking play anymore. It's all possession. That is what annoys me with Christensen. A number of times he goes forward. He could cross the ball in. Trouble is, half the time, nobody's up there with him. And he turns around and passes it back. Michael also agrees with Craig. I hate it when we keep doing it. That annoys me so much. I mean, last season they were saying Winks and Vestergaard had the best pass rate in the league. Well, they were passing to each other. All they needed was a street corner to play on. That's the wise old indeed. Well, wouldn't we just love that? I'd love it, as Kevin Keegan would say. I love it. Ray's gone 3-2 to Leicester. Amen to result prediction for tomorrow. 3-2 to Leicester. Going to be a goal fest. Hi, Jeff. How you doing? I hope you're feeling better, mate. You did say you were slowly getting there. Take it easy, mate. I mean, watching Leicester's not good for your heart, is it? Yeah, you and mate. It's like you've never been away. Nobody's got many points to go ahead of you. Don't worry, mate. Don't worry. I can venture I'll be long dead gone when Leicester get the next clean sheet. Quite possibly. We need to offer them a pizza. That's what it is. Make them a pizza. So does that make him the wise old bird rather than the wise old owl? Who knows? Guys, thank you so very, very much indeed. Thank you for joining us. Thanks to Craig and thanks to Kate for coming in tonight. Really do appreciate it. Subscribe if you are new. That really does help the channel. And more than anything, that is free. Also freer and easier. Just smash that like button. That gets us seen on other people's homepages that don't subscribe. We're heading for the 4,000. I think we're about 25 off. So if you've got any friends and family that are Leicester fans and haven't subscribed, I'm trying to try and get to the 4,000 if we can. 25, that's all it is. Or if you've got more than one account. If you want to become a member, it's only $1.99. Details for that are below. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll be back for the watch along, 7 o'clock tomorrow. Be there or be non-spherical. Take care, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.
TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.